We're
Okay, I
live.
believe we are live, so
Good
I'm,
to go.
sorry. Everyone, I'm going to call the meeting to order. At this time, I'd like to remind council and municipal staff that this meeting is being live streamed to the public. All council meetings are also recorded. Recordings will be available to the public on the township website. Physical attendance of the public at this meeting is not permitted due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The purpose of the meeting, the Council for the Township of Madawaska Valley deems it advisable to hold a special council meeting as allowable under Section 3.4 of the Procedural Bylaw 2018-117. This meeting will be held electronically under the Municipal Emergency Act 2020 and Municipal Bylaw 2020-32, Section 3.6.7, live streamed on the Township of Madawaska Valley YouTube account. First, we have the adoption of the agenda for Tuesday, June 2nd, 2020. The recommendation is that the special council meeting agenda for Tuesday, June 2nd, 2020 be approved as presented. Could I get a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Schulist, seconded by Councillor Wilmer. All those in favor? And that's carried. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest?
None.
None here.
None. Okay, I see none. We do not have any delegations today, so we'll move to the confirmation of the minutes. First is the special council meeting minutes of May 19th, 2020. The recommendation is that the special council meeting minutes for May 19th, 2020 be approved as presented. Could I get a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Bromwich, seconded by Councillor Palmer. Are there any errors or omissions on these minutes? Sue?
I just requested under item 13, new business, just add the word building. It was a building assessment. The changes has already been asked to be done.
Okay, do you want this to be approved as amended then?
No, just wanted to let you know that doesn't change the intent of the minutes, but the deputy clerk has made the change.
Okay, if council has no other errors or omissions and no concern with that change, I don't see anyone with a concern. I'll call the vote. All those in favor? And that's carried. Next are the Combermere Recreation Committee meeting minutes of March 12th, 2020. The recommendation is that the Combermere Recreation Committee meeting minutes for March 12th, 2020 be accepted as presented. Could I get a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Poplinski, seconded by Councillor Wilmer. Is there any discussion on these minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. Is there any business arising up from these minutes? Okay, no one has any. All right, next we'll move to municipal reports. First, do we have a Canada Day 2020 report? And I guess I will turn it over to Stephanie to speak to this report if she would like to.
So I can't start my video because it says my thing says I'm not allowed, but that's okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So we did get confirmation from the Canadian Heritage Group that we were approved in our Canada Day grant application. On receiving the approval notice, I was given 48 hours to respond and let them know what we wanted to do as far as date changes or plans. We've left everything status quo, but we've changed the date. So September the 6th is a Saturday. That's the date we're going with. If that's, I believe council was consulted with their thoughts, and we're going to go ahead with that. They are under the understanding that if we need to change plans, everything else going forward, we can still do that. We just need to let them know. And I have a question and answer document from Canadian Heritage. If we have any questions, it answers quite a bit. So I don't know if anybody has any thoughts, questions.
Okay. So I see at least one hand up. Councillor Poplinski. Oh, Councillor Poplinski, you need to unmute yourself.
Sorry, I'm here now.
Yeah. There we go.
Is it on?
Yes, it's
Yes.
on.
It's on now.
Okay, could you tell me what the status quo is?
Well,
Amanda?
not,
Gonna be the same, but on a different date?
yes, as of right now, we've felt it best to just move the dates ahead, with hopeful that we can move forward with some of the plans that we've had planned. The fireworks, as noted in the report, will be moved. And I've reached out to each of the groups to let them know that we've planned ahead and the date's been moved. And they were all okay. I believe I haven't heard from Wilno yet, but every other group was understanding, and yeah, status quo is, I guess, the best word.
Okay,
I'm just not sure what the status quo means, because I've talked in the past about not using all that money for the fireworks in Barry's Bay. And I am absolutely determined that that money should be spent across the whole community, okay? So I don't know what your status quo is, but it certainly doesn't seem to fit that, the request, and that comes every year. And I don't know who you spoke with, maybe one person at the community in Combermere, but no one is happy with that situation. If we give all the money again to an event that happens in Barry's Bay, and I'll go on the record again as saying that, but let's be fair here, okay?
Okay,
Whether it happens on Canada Day or not, that's irrelevant. But year after year, to take all that money and blow it up into the air, and I think this is the year when everybody should be given a fair chance to spend the money in their own community. And that includes Wilno, okay, Combermere, and Barry's Bay.
so Wilno and Combermere are each, we spoken to them in the beginning, and they all get a portion of the money. So Combermere was planning an opening for the gazebo, and Wilno has their regular plans that they usually do in Wilno, and some of that funding goes to them as well. Are you speaking, you want to have fireworks in Wilno and Combermere? Is that where you're going?
No, I'm not asking for that at all. I think that's a tremendous waste of money, frankly.
okay.
I think we need more discussion in our community. And let's, for once, let's be fair, okay? We live in an amalgamated township.
All right.
No?
Any,
Every year, do I have to have this argument with council and staff, who seems to be making all the decisions?
Councillor Kaplinski, council has not made any other decision to change the situation with the fireworks. We have continued to support having the fireworks in Barry's Bay. And as far as I know, that has been the will of council. Did any other member of council want to speak to this? There were some hands that were going up and down, so I'm struggling a bit here to keep track. Councillor Wilmer?
Yeah, first of all, I'm going to state my community is Madawaska Valley, and that's very clear. That includes Wilno, that includes Barry's Bay, that includes Combermere. You cannot effectively use $14,000 by dividing it too finely. Anyway, that wasn't my question. My question is really about the expiry date. If September doesn't work, so where do we go from there? I know it says in the report that funds can be used up to March 31st, 2021, but where does that leave us? You know, because who knows where we'll be in September. So have you got any more information on that, Stephanie, just in regards to how it's going to happen if we move it back later, and then how will it impact the 2021 funding?
The information that I have so far basically just says if we don't use it by March, we give it back. Or they're not sending it to us right away. They're sending it now closer to our date. So we would just not use it this year, and it would just get put forward to next year, but we have to reapply. So like a whole new grant application. I did speak with the fire department, Earl and Corey, briefly, and asked them some questions about the fireworks. They did have some I kind of said, wouldn't it be fun to have winter fireworks? And the only comment I heard was, it's so cold. It takes hours for them to manipulate all the little wires. And in the winter, it might be complicated, but you know, they didn't say no, they just said it's cold. So, I mean, I don't know what that looks like, if you want my honest opinion.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. It might end up being something we're celebrating on New Year's. Very
That's
similar
right.
to one of the events that I know the Cumbermere Recreation Committee did on New Year's. So we'll have to see how it goes with the COVID in terms of when we are allowed to have people of more than 5 people gather. Is there any other comments from council at this point? I'm not seeing anything else. Sue, did you want to speak to this?
Yes, thank you. Just wanted to add, we did consult with what other municipalities were doing, and as you know, initially we all just said, we know Canada Day can't happen. The federal government recognizes that. They were the ones that were saying, don't say no completely. Let's just pick another date, understanding it may not happen either. When they say another date, they recognize that there might have to be, you know, maybe it would only be fireworks, maybe it would only be, you know, a community barbecue or something like that. But we still have to spend the money based on the allocation of the application that we did for the grant funding. And I did want to reassure Councillor Poplinski that from the comments that were made last year, there was a lot more consultation with those community groups, with the recreation committees as well. And they had submitted early on what their plans were for Canada Day. And the Wilno group, I don't know, because we usually apply under the Heritage Week. That's a different stuff. But the federal government just wanted to make sure that we kept it on the table in the event that something could miraculously be able to be done in September. As it stands right now, we still haven't moved our numbers from a number of 5. So realistically, we don't know what that means. But Stephanie is right in that regardless if it goes into 2021, we would have to reapply, you know, to see how it has changed. So thank you.
Okay, so is there a recommendation at this point about the change of date?
No, I think it was just advice. Oh, sorry, Stephanie. I think it was just advising council that that was a date that, you know, Bonnechere Valley, everyone else said you almost have to be on a long weekend, and we're trying to find a date that's far enough from the summer and hopefully enough of a gap that we can say it'll open up somewhat so that we can have some type of community event. Thank you.
Any other questions from council then on that? At this point, we're looking at September, and we'll have to see how things go. Right. Okay, with that, then we will move on to tender 2020-05 for crushed gravel. And Hillary is here, I believe, if you wanted to speak to that. Oops. There he is.
Hey, I'm in.
Can see
Okay,
you.
so what we do in these tenders is based on last year's tonnage, we try and replicate it for this year. But there's Mike, good. So we did the same tonnage and then you have to fit it into the road length. And this year, for some reason, the price per ton came in higher than last year's. So we have to scale back on the amount. That's the only way it's going to work. So we'll make it work at, our budget is 140. So we'll use less quantities. And I believe, Mike, if you want to add anything to that, lesser quantities to hit the budget target.
Nope, it's all good. That's I think that's what we had in mind, eh?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's going to fall within the budget, and the roads are further away. So that possibly that could be one of the aspects why it came in a little bit higher per ton.
Okay. So, but it was reasonably significantly higher per ton to come up to the price that was quoted.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Are there any questions from council on this? Hillary, are other municipalities experiencing similar prices per ton for their gravel?
I believe so, yes. It's right across everywhere. And I can't figure it out. The dyed diesel is right at its cheapest price ever. So why it is. And a lot of work out there, I believe.
Yes. Is there a recommendation for council?
Yes. That council approved the recommendation of the operations manager to award the lowest tender MV2 2005 crushed gravel by RGT Kluche Construction Limited in the amount of $210,434.25, including HST, reducing the quantity of gravel and conditional on the requirements of the tender.
Okay, thank you. Could I get a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Schulist, seconded by Councillor Wilmer. Is there any discussion on the recommendation? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, next we have tender 2020-07, double surface treatment and HL3 asphalt. Hillary, did you want to speak to this as well?
Sure. So in the original recommendation, we're $50,000 over budget. So I wrote this out on Friday and I slept on this on the weekend. So I believe to make this work, it's not going to get any better next year, I believe. I had discussion with other people in the industry. I believe that it's going to take 2 or 3 years for the pricing to come down, and there's a lot of work out there. I just heard 417 is getting twinned, and I believe these are the prices we're going to be hampered with for the next couple of years. So on the weekend, I kind of thought about stuff. So in the Public Works Department, there is a few places we can save some money. There is previous tenders, we have saved some. So there's still somewhat of a shortfall, but I believe it won't be much of a shortfall in the $30,000 range. And I would like to proceed in this. I don't know if I made a email memo up this morning. Did everyone receive that?
I have it.
I haven't, no.
Okay. So,
No,
so Hillary, you've just basically made a different recommendation in the email based on your review of the situation over the weekend.
I can read it for anyone, since it's just the email. Since the writing of this report, I have spoken to the successful bidder, members of the construction industry, and had discussions of the 2021 construction year in our area and around Renfrew County. It is foreseen by the industry due to higher than usual infrastructure projects in 2021 and the unexpected future of COVID-19 that costs could be higher next year. I would propose this project should proceed in 2020. Staff has reviewed departmental items where we deem there will be savings throughout the department that could offset the $50,000 increase. This road is based on asset management, is already overdue to construction. So the recommendation I wrote out that council approved the recommendation of the operations manager to award the lowest tender, MV 2020-07 double surface treatment HL3 hot mix by Greenwood Paving in the amount of $333,101.97, including HST. I
Okay.
don't know if our treasurer has anything to add.
Amanda, did you want to speak to this? There she is.
So just looking at the 2019 year-end investments, our total interest that we earned on investments was $49,539. And that wasn't included in our budget calculations. But that's for all of the departments. If we look at the Public Works Department, the interest for investments for Public Works was $10,023. And the interest on the general government investments was $17,304. So that's almost $30,000 right there. If that's an area that council wishes to draw from. Typically what we do is we just build it into the reserve items. So you don't really see the interest on investments. But when we will be going into 2021, I'll have those line items broken out so that you can see how much each department is making in interest. So that's an area that we could look at. I think Sue had her hand up.
Okay, no, Amanda, I was just before I go to Sue, Amanda, we also have money in the unallocated reserve that could be assigned to cover part of this cost as well.
Correct.
So we do have some options. Sue.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Just a question for Hillary. I do think already some of the tenders, we have seen some savings as well. Was it the truck was just short of 10,000 savings there?
Yes.
And then there was a few thousand, we believe will come in a bit lower on engineering.
Correct.
For Field Road. Okay, yeah, just thank you.
Okay, and is there a cushion built into this tender that we could hopefully realize, not have to spend?
There
Like
may be,
a buffer in the tender, a little buffer?
no, there may be less quantities used perhaps, and it could come in lower,
Okay, no, I
you
was.
know, in the overall,
Mhm.
but it is what it is. We can't make the pavement like,
Okay, so
Tender.
there's no sort of, I don't know what to call it, like a miscellaneous, you know what I mean? You have a little buffer on a tender. And,
yeah,
okay, there's nothing like that on this tender?
no.
Okay. All right, so Hillary had read the recommendation. Council, do you want the recommendation read again? Or do you recall it? Are we good? Did I get someone to move the recommendation? Can I get her, please? Nobody's going to move it?
Oh,
Want it read. Okay, sorry. Moved by Councillor Wilmer, seconded by, I need a seconder for the recommendation to proceed with Smeglinski Stopa. Seconded by Councillor Bromwich. Is there any discussion on the recommendation? Councillor Bromwich?
Thank you, through you, Chair. Yeah, this road actually is basically gone, and it's about as bad as it's gonna get. It could get a bit worse. You couldn't be able to drive on it. I took a ride out to Pog Lake Road last week after the lads went and fixed a lot of potholes. And it was bone jarring, to say the least. Pog Lake Road is at a certain point is disgusting, but we're going to remedy that this year. The history on our road here, Stopa Lake Parkway, we deferred this in 2019, I think it was, to 2020. Actually, we discussed it in 2018, I believe, when it might not have been just in time. It might have been able to be saved. It wouldn't have cost that much money. It would have been around $180,000. Allowing it to go one more year, deferring it, booted that price up $70,000. And I see by this particular quote, it's up and now to $333,000. If we delay this till next year, where does that go? Would it be $350,000? It sounds like the construction companies they've got all the balls in their court, and they're just having a field day with pricing on this, unfortunately. And we're stuck in the middle here trying to, I think we're not alone in all the municipalities fighting for their lives right now. Luckily, we can manage our reserve funding and that, but we have a lot of them don't even have reserves. It's a sad situation, but I think if we let this go any further, it's gonna be a non-passable road. It's basically gone now. It's just disappeared, so I will go along with the recommendation if we can. It's a bitter pill to swallow, but we have to spend more money than we budgeted, but it's for the good of the township, I think, overall. Thank you.
Okay, and Councillor Schulis, you had your hand up?
Yes, to Madam Mayor, this recommendation is sort of confusing to me. I might be missing something. I definitely would like to see Stopa Lake Parkway being done, but it says here to not award.
Oh, okay,
So that-
I'm sorry,
Yeah,
I
I'm
referred
just
to the
confused a little bit.
recommendation that Hillary read to you from the email. Do you
Mhm.
want to read the recommendation again? Maybe this was council's confusion. Hillary, could you read that recommendation
Fine.
again? Just
Yeah,
so,
yes, I crafted it this morning. Like I sent the email out.
could you read the recommendation again for Councillor Schulis so he's aware of it?
That council approved the recommendation of the operations manager toward the lowest tender MV 220-07 double surface treatment HL3 hot mix by Greenwood Paving Limited in the amount of $333,101.97, including HST.
So the recommendation, Councillor Schulis, is to proceed with the road at the lowest.
Yeah. Yeah, to Madam Mayor,
Concern?
just, to me, in my document, it says to not award, so that's the confusing. So what Hillary had read was exactly what I wanted to hear. So I'll definitely be supporting then that motion.
Okay, I think the confusion is that Hillary's reading a recommendation from an email he sent you this morning.
Okay. Okay.
Since the report
you.
was written, he has further information.
Okay.
Good
Thank
deal.
you very much.
So you're good with that? Okay, so is there anything further on that recommendation that was just read? Councillor Wilmer?
Nothing further, but just saying, no, I'm glad to hear what Hillary's saying, because I don't believe next year we'll see anything lower. I hate to go over the budget cost, but if we can find ways, come up with or save money elsewhere, it's important. But it's also important that we follow our road maintenance plans, and this is beyond repair. It should have been done a while ago. So delaying it a year or two doesn't make any sense. It's just going to add more costs. So we need to do this, and let's do it. And hopefully we can find savings elsewhere.
Okay,
So
thank
support
you.
it.
Okay, is there anything further on the recommendation then? Now that we all clearly understand that the operations manager is recommending that this project go ahead. Okay, seeing nothing, all those in favor? And that's carried. All right, next is financial software review. And I don't know, Sue, if you're speaking to this or if Amanda's speaking.
I believe the treasurer will speak to this.
Okay, I just didn't have the report up here. Just a second. Amanda, if you want to proceed.
Okay. So
Yes.
currently, our financial software that we use within the municipal office does not meet the needs of the staff. It's based from an American company, and so whenever they do an update to their program, it usually conflicts with our program because our tax codes are different than that of the United States. So we always have issues whenever there's updates, and it doesn't really do the things that we need it to do. Oftentimes something's not working and we have to contact them. And then when we do contact them, we could wait a day or a week. Recently, I had an issue with payroll, and that was 3 weeks ago, and I'm still waiting for somebody to get back to me on that. And so we're always having to try and find ways around it, around the errors, to fix it ourselves, because we don't have that support that we should have for the program. So there's a company that supports a lot of municipalities around here, and it's called VATM. And they have this software program called iCity. There is approximately 6 municipalities within the county of Renfrew that use the program. And they had reached out to us asking us if we would like to learn more about their program. We said absolutely. So staff in the finance department sat down, met with them to do a webinar to walk us through their program. How would you enter a tax payment? How would you process payroll? How would you process accounts payable and accounts receivable, and all of the nitty gritty of walk us through step by step, one by one, of what we would have to do if this were our program. So the staff was quite happy with it. We received money through the province of Ontario, I believe it was in 2019, for the modernization program. And basically that money is designed for, it was basically a check given to municipalities saying, do what you can with the money, upgrade your software, fix your office spaces, get yourself better for the future, so that we're not always going to the province looking for money for computers or whatnot. So we have sat on that money for a little bit to try and find, what we could use the money for, because it is deferred revenue, so it's specific to what we can use it for. So we feel that the money that we have from this modernization program could pay for this software program. So the software program, it's all online based or cloud based. So it's called iCity. So it will allow us to work from home, or if we're at conferences or seminars, if that ever starts up in the future, we could still work when we're away. We could work, if we're in council chambers, we could still be working there. If we have to move around offices, because it's all cloud-based. That being said, it would free up space on our server. It allows for the company, to do all the updates for us. And therefore, we wouldn't have to have our IT support person come in and fix any update glitches. It is a Canadian company, and therefore it's all based on Canadian tax code, Canadian HR employment standards codes, and so they recognize those important things that change from year to year. Sorry, I just want to check out my report because I don't want to miss anything. It also will allow us to do e-billing, so there could be savings there. The implementation of it would, we would immediately implement tax billing software so that we can bill people through e-billing. They wouldn't actually receive a printout of their tax bill if they so choose. We can still print off tax bills and water bills, but if there's a ratepayer that wishes to receive it online, they can do that. They can also log into the system and look at their account on their own, so they can see their the status of their account if they wish. And then there's a HRIS My Way, which allows the staff as well to log their payroll hours. And this would be convenient for Public Works or any staff who have, if they have to go off for a while and we're not, scrounging around trying to find timesheets or what they did. It's a way for everyone to communicate easily without having to do it face to face. So when we went back and forth with the company and talked about what modules we would need, the final cost of the software would be $148,215. the annual maintenance fee would be $20,550. So the cost that we currently pay for an annual maintenance fee with our current software program is $12,220. So that's an additional $8,330 to our operating costs. However, I foresee that we would, that increase would offset in a reduction to our IT support costs, because we would not have to have someone here to fix all the glitches for us all the time. So again, we're asking council to allow us to upgrade our software. This would not be coming from tax, the local tax base. It would be coming directly from the modernization program grant funding that the province of Ontario had provided to us last year and asked us to please spend the money. So we're finding ways to spend the money. And that's all I have to say about that for now.
Okay, Sue, you wanted to speak to that.
Yes, I just wanted to highlight a couple of things. And if you look at the slides that Vadim provided, there are some highlights there that I'm going to speak to. Pretty much as part of the succession planning and the cross-training processes, Vadim is much easier and it's better streamlined. It does have a what we call a single point data entry. With the system we have now, each module is a separate data entry. So basically it's like a one-stop shop. When you open it up, it has all of your modules. The system they have now, if they're working in taxes, they have to go in, do the tax work, go out. Then if they want to send an invoice, they have to go into accounts receivable and do that and go out. Whereas this is what we call a single point data entry. And I think that is right there in itself, and the amount of steps that they need to take to get from entry to printing out a check or entry to printing out a report for accounts receivable. Right there, efficiencies and time savings are there. In 2021, we can bring on board and link City Manager, which is a software that we use for the building department, and we can integrate them. We also, with this, they basically promote it as a virtual city hall. So Amanda spoke about, it having the benefits of e-billing, and all of those are things that we identified in our strategic plan, that we want to move towards e-billing, move towards the capability of emailing our tax bills. We want better online access for our customers. And Vadim helps us do that. We just replaced, a server so we have a newer server that council invested in last year. And I think going to Vadim, being able to have more cloud-based services will also extend the life of that. I think just the onboarding that finance has done on this, I think in all the modules they looked at, I did not hear, and Amanda can correct me if I'm wrong, I did not hear like one negative reason why we should not move forward with this program. Now, having said that, we're giving you the cost of the program because of how we're phasing it in. I don't know Amanda, does the whole thing get paid out in 2020? Yes? Because it's by module.
Ideally, it would. I would like to have this implemented so that we can start January 1, 2021 with a new software program. So okay. It likely would, but again, it would come from the deferred revenue of the modernization program. So it doesn't affect the budget.
Okay.
At any rate,
I just wanted to add to the one area that we did look at. We were hoping that it had, in the past, Vadim used to have, and it was known for this recreation software that we could invoice through Vadim, but they identified that they were not happy with that software and people are moving away from it. And so it's not a supported software. So that is something that we'll be looking to have a standalone option for recreation. But we didn't want to move forward with that until we investigated what that was would be looking like. And I do see Stephanie's hand up there, so maybe she has an update on that.
Okay, fine. Stephanie, did you want to speak to recreation software?
I don't have much of an update, just to say that the couple companies that I've looked into are all cloud-based and will join with this program.
Perfect.
Okay, were there concerns with our existing program that they may not be compatible?
Yeah, the program that we have right now, one of the companies I looked at was compatible, but the other wasn't. So it's just.
Okay. So it limits our options going forward. Okay.
And following discussions with other individuals using Assist, I think what we've determined is we've gotten too big for the capability of Assist. And Assist, I think Amanda in her report highlighted very well the fact that one of the issues is it's a US-based company. And a lot of the payroll issues, you know, we're dealing with different provinces and different countries' payroll update.
So certainly, council, I can tell you that when I was a councillor last for this municipality, I had seasonal residents who spend their time as snowbirds down south, who were asking for the capability to receive their tax bills electronically. And certainly back in that day, long ago, we didn't have that capacity, but it's more than due now that we would have the ability to provide our seasonal residents with access to their tax information and possibly water and wastewater bill information if their property happens to be in the village of Barry's Bay. I can certainly understand why they'd want access to their account. Also, further to this, staff is looking forward to some good efficiencies because of not having to enter things more than once and go in and out of different modules to do this. It will also, I believe, Amanda, it will allow you to limit access to specific modules, which is something that the auditors have repeatedly for as long as we've been Madawaska Valley, because as long as we've been Madawaska Valley, we've had this software. The auditors have been saying that you should be able to limit access for certain modules to certain members of staff. Is that not correct?
Yes, it is a much more progressive software program.
Okay, so there are many reasons that staff are presenting. And I see Councillor Bromwich would like to speak to this. Councillor Bromwich.
Thank you, Chair. Through you, Chair. This is timely. It's we've been waiting for this for quite some time, and I think it's a perfect time for us to update our software. I've seen the Assist in action with the girls in the office. They can't even see the screen properly. I mean, it's an outdated system. I mean, I'm sure you might get a full screen display now with the modules, which would be nice for your eyes. But on the modern side of it, I think this is a great step. This is a new age we're living in. We don't know what's going to happen. And when you can work from home on this or work anywhere and have a portable system that's so secure, like what you're suggesting, I don't think it's a hard sell. And I think you've done everything in your power to come up with a really great idea. I'd like to see move forward as fast as we can on this one. I really appreciate your work, guys. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes, and I think if we were to give the go-ahead on this, I'm assuming, Amanda, that it would take a few months so that you would be looking to be ready for 2021.
Yes, so we would be looking at how our GL codes are structured so that we would make some changes so that the revenues for public works would coincide with the expenses for public works, so that we could just print a document and you would have public works revenue on top, expenses on the bottom, a simple reporting. So there's going to be some effort and some work to be involved, and it's going to take some time to get everything updated and simplified. But yes, it will take it. When we spoke to them, they said based on our size and our needs, it could take up to 6 months.
Okay, but it will also allow you to customize the GL and the budget so that the one will just flow from the other. Is that not
Yes.
other added? I don't think you mentioned that. And just that alone is going to save significant time.
Yes, and the budgeting would be through the system and not Excel based.
Okay. Did you want to speak to that?
Yeah, I just wanted to just wanted to add to that, we've also, Janice and Amanda have spoken at length with them about our metering, changing our water meters to ensure that Neptune 360 and VADIM are compatible, and they are.
So does council have any questions on this at this point? Councillor Wilmer.
Yeah, our present system, which I know is totally just doesn't do the job, but how long ago did we have that, or did we go to that system, and what was the cost at the time?
So we transferred over in, I believe it was June of 2007.
Okay.
And I think the cost of the system was around $50,000. So
Okay.
at that time, we did an RFQ. There were a few companies that had bid, and the software version that, or the software program that we have now was the lowest tendered bid. So that's
And at that time, I mean, it's 13 years ago. So much has changed, and so I really believe we need to go to the system. And the beauty about this, to me, is the modernization fund is specifically for projects like this. We need to modernize in our IT area, and I think what people are saying, where you can't pay, you know, or do certain things online, and this will give us that ability. I also want to say, like, to me, it's a Canadian-based company. That's a big thing. Cloud-based, we can expand on it over the years. It won't become obsolete as quickly, or, I mean, who knows? We can't predict that, but it shouldn't be. And I think this is the way to go. And we, you know, we have the funds from a funding source that was granted just for this type of project. So to me, it's a no-brainer. We need to do it, and we should do it, and we have the money in place.
Funnily enough, before we in 2007 switched over to Assist, we were actually with this program. They were DOS based at the time, but they've upgraded their program, you know, over the many years. So we would be
That's
going.
great. I think it's a great report, and I fully support this.
Okay.
And I think the other one, sorry, if I could say one more thing, I think the additional yearly costs of about $8,000, we will find that they actually save in many, many areas. I think we'll find savings happen or occur just because of the abilities of this program.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's definitely, we're going to have some IT savings, and our IT costs have been going up significantly with the software package that we have, because there's constantly been issues that are taking quite some time to solve. So, I mean, that is a good thing now that we can get beyond that. So do we have a recommendation, Sue? Would you like to read it, or does Amanda want to read the recommendation?
Recommendation. Do you have your report up, Amanda?
I do. So the recommendation on the agenda is that council grant staff approval to proceed with entering into agreement with Central Square for the purchase of the VADIM software program iCity with an overall cost of $148,215 to be funded from the modernization program.
Okay, thank you. Can I get a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Bromwich, seconded by Councillor Schulist. Is there any discussion on the recommendation? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, so you will then be bringing that agreement back to us as a bylaw, correct, Amanda?
Yes.
Okay, we'll see it then. All right, we'll move to Municipal Asset Management Program funding. I believe, Amanda, this is you as well.
Yes. So the federal government provides to FCM monies to help with asset management. And one of the programs is a municipal asset management program. It's called MAMP. And what it is they allow you, you apply for the funding. There is no deadline to apply. it's first come, first serve, basically, as long as you fit the guidelines of the funding program. And if it satisfies what they feel is good asset management planning. So I've just been keeping touch with representatives from Public Sector Digest, and they're heavily rooted in with FCM, the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. And so when I saw this grant open up again, we contacted each other basically and decided to put this together. So originally early in the late winter of this year, myself and the Recreation and Community Development Coordinator, we had gotten some quotes for building condition assessments. So we received quotes from a few companies, and through the Public Sector Digest, we provided a list of our buildings, one being the railway station and another being the water tower, the wooden water tower. Because we knew those were there was going to be some work that needed to be done on them, and it was going to become part of the budget. So I believe there's about 10 buildings we've identified to do building condition assessments. So they provided us with a quote of approximately $39,000. They were the lowest bid, and they do structural historical buildings as well. And anyway, so we were prepared and ready to go, knowing that this funding would eventually come out. So it was released last week, and therefore I'm asking council to show support for this municipal asset management program funding through FCM, and that we would commit $7,880 towards these building condition assessments. And just to clarify, we have already budgeted $20,000 in the 2020 budget year to complete these. So if council is okay with it, I would like a recommendation from council to proceed with this.
Okay, so we had budgeted the 20,000 for two, is that not right?
2 buildings, yes.
And I think I noted in here somewhere that this process, you'd be able to get the historical aspects of the railway station and the water tower, that the condition assessment based on those historical aspects. Is that, I don't know how to say that, but they would do the historical work.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's more than the 2 buildings.
Yeah. Oh, yes. This is for a whole list of our buildings. So Sue, do you want to speak to that?
Just a question for the treasurer, only because I forgot to ask prior to the meeting. Did we also budget separately for the railway station because we had assumed it would be higher to do the assessment for the railway station? So that would be funds that we could put towards that as well, like the allotment that would be for the railway station?
Well, I believe Stephanie can speak to that. She had budgeted within her budget. Stephanie?
Yeah, so we had put aside $10,000 in each, the railway station and the water tower, if I'm not mistaken. So 20,000 total, because we wanted to look at the siding on the side of the railway station and a few of the other questions that needed to be answered about the building. So we had put that money aside to have done this year, and I had gotten the other quote, which we had forwarded on to you previously, which was just for the 2 buildings, and it was, well, it would have covered the $20,000, but this is a better option.
Thank you.
And-
Just wanted to highlight that we do have some funds in there as well.
Okay.
And so I just want to remind, sorry, through Madam Mayor, I just would like to remind council, so we are in the process of asset management planning. We have done our roads needs study. We've done a building condition assessment for the Paul J. Akbuski Community Center. We are doing condition assessments and rate setting and financial analysis for our water and wastewater systems. So I believe we are ideally placed in order to receive these funds. And I don't think we should allow this to pass this by because I feel strongly that we will receive this funding.
Okay. All right, so did you want to read the recommendation and then we'll have a discussion?
I think Councillor Bromwich did. I thought I saw him have his hand up.
Do you want the recommendation read?
Yes, please, yeah.
Okay, so if the recommendation could be read, please.
So it's a long one. It's from the FCM, okay? So the recommendation is, be it resolved that the Council for the Township of Madawaska Valley directs staff to apply for a grant opportunity from the Federation of Canadian Municipalities Municipal Asset Management Program for building condition assessments. Be it therefore resolved that the Township of Madawaska Valley commits to conducting the following activities in its proposed project submitted to the Federation of Canadian Municipalities Municipal Asset Management Program to advance our asset management program. Visit, field measure, and examine building components of all buildings listed, incorporating reviews of existing building drawings where available, and discussion with the facilities operators. Conduct interviews with key facility staff to gain an understanding of user groups, service requirements, and current facility related matters. Inspect and report on all listed facilities to establish existing physical conditions. Conduct the assessment based on a consistent condition rating format for all site components for each listed facility and subsequent life system expectancy of same. Determine the finances required to be set aside for both routine maintenance and long-term capital replacement of these components for budgetary purposes. Provide a means by which the capital projects can anticipate and forecast expenditures required for these components rather than responding to emergency repairs or equipment failures as they occur. Assess facility conditions to ascertain accordance with the Occupational Health and Safety Act, current National Building Code, ASHRAE 90.1, and any other reports deemed pertinent by the client. Design issues. Code violations and concerns will be duly noted, indicating their pertinent corresponding sections and clauses of the applicable code. Identify any hazardous conditions. Categorize testing requirements such as infrared thermography, destructive testing, and submit to the project manager if required. Define a methodology for collecting data and analysis to produce clear and concise condition surveys of the asset. Be it further resolved that the Township of Madawaska Valley commits $7,880 from its budget toward the cost of this initiative.
Okay, it was a lengthy recommendation. Could I get a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Bromwich, seconded by Councillor Schulist. Is there any discussion from council? Yes, Councillor Bromwich.
I'd just like to say through you, Chair, this is a great step in with our asset management program we've been aiming for. We're going to follow the strategic plan we laid out, and this is going to give us so much more help in ascertaining the condition of our buildings. And this is part and parcel of our overall grant funding through the government people. If we have a good asset management program, good fiscal management, and a strategic plan, all those three areas, and you can prove that to the government, we get funding basically 100% of the time. This is just one component that is going to really nail our position in the world for grant money to be had in the future. So I agree 1,000% with this. Thank you very much, Amanda, for that. It's so good.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Bromwich. I'd just like to note that Councillor Poplinski has had to leave the meeting briefly, and he will be back in a little while. I did just get a note to that effect. Now, did anyone else want to speak to this? Councillor Wilmer.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, no, this is something we need to do. And I think, I mean, it's very important that we have the condition assessments done on all the buildings. But to me, the other thing is great about this, if we can get the grant, I mean, I'm a little confused about how much we have budgeted, but we have 20,000 plus perhaps another 20,000 from recreation. And here we're looking at 78, 80 plus 2,500. I mean, so that's big savings. And rather than doing two buildings, we're doing all our buildings. So to me, it's an absolute it's a great opportunity and we need to take advantage of it. So I'll be supporting this.
Thank you. This also means that we will have very clear information about the condition of our buildings in terms of going forward, applying for funding and being able to develop shovel-ready projects for our buildings. And it is the next step in asset management, because we have done significant work with roads and culverts and all of those sorts of infrastructure, but buildings were kind of very generally assessed just as an overall value, but not done in detail. So I'm really looking forward to seeing this work completed, so we get a better picture of where we are. And also so the municipality doesn't get any surprises down the road with suddenly needs $1 million put into it and we weren't aware. So it is going to be very useful information, there's no doubt. Did anyone else want to speak to this? Any more comments on this? Hey, Sue?
Not so much on this, just the next report, 7.6. We may change a bit some of our thinking on office redesign based on expecting the building assessment.
Okay, yes. So this recommendation will actually probably affect the timeline and thoughts on the next item we're going to be discussing. So, okay, now you know what, I've forgotten where I'm at. I got a mover and a seconder, correct? Okay, thank you. So if there's no further comments, I'll call the question. All those in favor? And that's carried. Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, next is the municipal office building design, and I haven't, let me get that up. I don't know whose report that is. Just a second. Okay, it's Mr. Poplinski's report. Andy, are you there?
Yes.
Can you turn your video on? Can we see you?
No. I was already taken off once. That's good enough.
Okay, did you want to speak to this?
Well, I do believe that with the renovation that's going on and that what council has determined that we are going to proceed, I do believe that during the COVID times now, we are just looking for direction to see if we should continue or what we should do. However, I do see with the previous recommendation that the building assessments are going to be done. And I do believe that before we continue on with this building, that assessment is very valuable and it should be done prior.
Okay, thank you. Yes, because I do notice that you had some discussion topics here that included heating system, water system, and the design plans. So obviously, if we had a building condition assessment, that would give better information in order to look at the design and the scope of the work that needs to be completed.
Exactly. And if it's council's wishes that we don't proceed with the renovations, there are minimums that we can do. So I'm not sure how long this assessment will be before it does get done. However, for the accessibility, and I'm talking about security accessibility now with the front door, the upstairs main door coming into the office, building out the front desk, and the basement door as well are things that are a need, not a wish. So those are things that if council proceeds and they want to approve it, fine. If not, we just wait until after the assessment.
Okay, so you're talking about the vestibule on the what is currently the area that people normally come in.
Yes, and again, if we don't change the front entrance, it's still the front door, the upper door, sorry, at the desk where Marie takes everybody at the front.
Yes.
That's definitely a security issue. However, there are renovations to do if we're going to put that in place.
Okay. Sue, how do you want to proceed with this at this point? What are we looking for from council?
I think, and Andy can confirm, I think at this point, we just want council affirmation that we should proceed. And I think then we'll come back, we'll sit down with the engineer and come back and say, if we proceed with, for example, if you agree we should move forward with the vestibule and then the back entrance, there had been a health concern there as well with needing a small roof there. Then we can come back with what that cost would be and what that looks like in that timeline. Is that what we're looking for right now, Andrew?
Sorry, I'm just trying to get my video in here. Sorry, Sue.
That's okay. Amanda?
So there were some, we had went ahead with getting some design plans started through
I
a
was on earlier,
designer,
but shut off on me, so
designer.
I'm not worried about it.
And at the time, we didn't know what was going to happen, you know, to the economic impact of this COVID-19 to the world, right? So this started in August or September of 2019. And we had some design plans drawn, and I've attached them to your agenda so you can see what he had come up with. But in discussing things, you know, our current heating system really doesn't work for the building. And I believe someone had said before that it doesn't matter what we do with the heating in this building because there probably is no insulation on the exterior walls of this building. It's likely just block walls with drywall on it. So that's an issue. We could remove all the ductwork and replace it, and that's costly. Some rooms, offices already have electric baseboard heaters in them, which allow, you know, the staff to regulate the heat and the cold if they want. And so upstairs, we turn on the heat or we turn on the air conditioner, and then within those offices, they either open the window or turn on the heat for themselves to regulate their offices. So we might want to look at, do we want to just change to, do we want to rip out all of the ductwork, which would be quite costly, and see if we can fix something that we're not sure will get fixed ever because of the structure of the building and the setup of our building. Or do we want to look at just giving everybody their own baseboard heating for their office spaces? Or should we conduct a heating review? I don't know what that is. I'm sure Andy can speak to that. And then our water system in the basement of the of our office, we have our server there, we have our telephone system set up there, and then we have the cleaning supplies in there and our hot water heater, and it takes up a lot of space. So what we could possibly look at is replacing our hot water heater with an on-demand unit. It is expensive to do hot water on demand, but then there would be savings in energy efficiency. And then once we move from that, so I think we need to decide, do we want to do anything with the heating system? Not knowing what we could do. Do we want to upgrade our water system to hot water on demand? And then do we want to look at the design plans of the internal structure of this office? Or do we want to think of something else or wait until we have our building condition assessments completed? There's a lot to discuss here. I'm not really sure. Do we continue? Do we just do a vestibule on the front and on the back? And then maybe start thinking outside of the box, doing changes internally? Is that the best bang for our buck? Should we be looking, you know, considering how everything is going these days with the spacing and COVID-19, is it best to look at a design plan in the future for an addition to the building for a separate council chambers and storage? I'm not sure what council thinks of any of this. If anybody has any comments.
Okay, so I think there's a lot of material here. Certainly, there is absolutely no point in dolling up this building because that is putting lipstick on the pig. It doesn't work. It doesn't. It doesn't work. The heating the heating system doesn't work. The cooling system doesn't work. So when the environment isn't working well, it is pointless, as I say, to gussy it up without fixing those basic fundamental issues that are making the building difficult to work in. We can't have staff in the basement feeling like they're in the butcher shop's freezer while the council chambers are still hot and we're going, can we please turn up the air conditioning? And we might lose somebody downstairs. They're going to get frostbite. So I think from my perspective, certainly, and having spent a great deal of time in this building, if we don't fix the basic mechanical systems and come up with something that's going to work, and that doesn't mean just fix what's there. It might mean look at different ways of doing it. Does it make more sense to go with a system for each office so that it can have its own environmental controls? I don't know. We need a lot more information, not an expert, but I think certainly, Andy, we have you to, to help guide us through this project, which is super important. And I noticed that you did say that you would like to see the building condition assessment and, to look in this report, you're saying discuss the heating system, no doubt about it. Councillor Bromwich.
Thank you, through you, Chair. Sometimes when you get into these things, you got a 1950 building here. Sometimes it's worthwhile to knock it all down and build a new one. But let's not go there. Okay, I know Andy would agree with me here. How long would it take to do a building assessment? We don't want to put this off too much longer. We're looking for space. We're looking for better lighting, possibly better airflow, better windows. These are all things that, as you say, Mary Love, that you know what it's like downstairs in the cooler and upstairs in the sweat box, and vice versa in the wintertime. There's got to be a middle ground here we can reach. And I think this is a perfect time for this place to get knuckled down and rebuilt a little bit or fixed up. Is because there's nobody there except the staff, and it's not being used by the outside people. So how long would it take, Andy, do you think, to get a building assessment done once we get this program in? Just a guess, I don't.
So from my point of view, again, the assessment, I'm not privy to any of the information other than knowing there's supposed to be an assessment or a possibility of one.
Right.
So that being said, if they do come in here, it shouldn't take them more than a week to get information, put everything together. However, to create a plan, it may be a lot longer than that, because I know most designers, you're looking at a minimum a month. So again, depending on what they're going to assess, if they're assessing our space, our heating, our cooling, the use, the number of people, because that is something that this building has changed over the years. We went from working with probably 5 to 6 people, and now all of a sudden we're a full complement of 13 and using space that was storage before. So you can see the issues that we've had. However, I would say probably at least a month, but again, it depends on the priority for these other people, for these other buildings that we're doing, and depending what we want to see as a council.
Okay, certainly we know this building is an issue and we do want to get on with it. So we could ask that it be prioritized as the first building that the condition assessment was done on. Sue.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just reading on page 7 of 13 of their report from the PSD, it says every 2 months, starting with the kickoff meeting, the PSD project manager will provide a project status update that includes progress of tasks completed to date and the timelines of milestones of activities moving forward.
We lost the last of that. Sorry, Sue.
Sorry, we'll provide a project status update that includes progress of tasks completed to date and the timelines and milestones of activities moving forward. So it's saying every 2 months. So if we were to request that this building and possibly the railway station be done first, because we have pending installation of siding for the railway station, and we would be waiting to see what we will do with this building and have those two be the first ones that they do, I think your assessment between a month and 2 months would be probably accurate.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Wilmer.
Just a couple of thoughts. So number one, yeah, if we could prioritize perhaps the township hall as number one, but how long will it take us to know whether we get the grant? I mean, we're talking about 1.5, 2 months they could do it, but what sort of time length are we looking at? I guess this is addressed to Amanda, before we'll even know whether we get our funding.
It's hard to say. All the government agencies are working a little bit slower because there's so much work to be done and things are changing all the time. So we would submit our application this week. And because there is no deadline on it, it's difficult to say.
That's,
So-
that's
You know, I guess they're looking at how many applications they get, you know, I would assume each week, and assessing them on the criteria of how they meet. So I would think at least we'd be looking at a month and a half to know whether we're going to get anywhere with this.
okay, thank you. And if I could follow up on that, I guess I'm asking that because I agree. There are a couple of points that Councillor Bromwich made that I agree with. And one is we've got approximately a 70-year-old building. There is a point where it gets to a point where it doesn't serve the needs. But we've made the decision, we're going to go ahead and try to find a way to bring it up to at least a workable standard. I think we have to have the condition audit before we proceed. I think we can do some design work, which Andy, you've already done a lot. However, that can be impacted by the condition audit. But the other thing too is the immediate safety issues. Some of those, I think, given the COVID situation and given the the other issues in the building, if they're affecting safety, I think we have to deal with some of those immediately. And so I would like to see that looked at perhaps as a separate issue from the whole overall redesign, because I don't think we want our employees working in conditions. A lot has changed in the last 3-4 months, and we have to deal with that as a separate. And I think, yes, we have to wait for the condition audit, but we need to do some things now.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else on council want to speak to this at this point? Certainly, I think there's a will here to try to make a good decision, and it may involve taking a little more time due to the questions about the heating system and the cooling system. But Councillor Wilmer has spoken to the fact that there are some safety issues that could also be addressed. And I know, Andy, you spoke to the vestibule as being something that's important in terms of it's going to happen anyways. We need a vestibule on this building. So I'm not sure how staff wants to proceed. I think council is indicating we're certainly very willing to look at this project and get into this project and make sure that it's an effective project and that we are achieving the safety issues, that we are achieving better workspace, which involves those environmental systems that aren't working right now, and dealing with that as well. Thoughts, Amanda?
My question's for Andy. I know we worked together on this report. You had discussed possibly a heating review. So I'm assuming that's an actual plan or something that happens. Can you explain to myself and maybe the council what is a heating review? If maybe that's something that we could start with, Andy?
Yeah, by all means. Basically what a heating review is they'll take a look at our existing system, the furnace itself, our existing size of the ductwork, the buildings, the spaces, the overall size of the building, and the use. And it'll be a designer or a qualified engineer, depending on what we ask for, but it will be somebody that's qualified in that field. So they'll take a look at everything. They'll do their numbers to say, this is the size of the system you should have here. This is the most efficient, the most effective, and don't forget, technology has changed dramatically since this original system was put in. So I agree, it's undersized. It's something that we've already discussed with other other heating experts. It is something that needs to be changed, and if it's not changed, again, it's only going to be what we have. So again, it's not great conditions, as Councillor Wilmer has noticed. And again, anybody who works in the basement and works upstairs at any given time, you'll see there's at least a 10-degree difference in temperature. That's not possible, but in today's world, it's what's here. So again, if we can address it and do that by a qualified person, at least we can get that information out so we can say this is what we need, because it will be lengthy. It won't be just changing the ductwork. It could be also changing that furnace, which I'm assuming will happen, and it could change the space. As soon as you do renovations, now you have to meet the other provisions of the code, both fire and building. So that meaning that a room in there, because it's a service room, may need a fire separation. So there's numerous things that could start to snowball here.
Yes, exactly. But, council does need to recognize that the last time this building was renovated in a major way was at Amalgamation. So we're 20 years. It's
1999, correct?
yeah, it's given, it gave it the office. It's done. It's ready for a refresh. Councillor Wilmer.
Yeah, my only other comment on it too is when we do get into the, when we look at the condition audit and we start looking at how we redesign or what we do, we really need to concentrate on being energy efficient too. And I think that's where we can produce the savings or make it worthwhile too, as well as being, more user friendly for the employees. A lot has changed in efficiencies over the last 20 some years. So, we need to look at that. And I think a lot of the costs can be recouped over the years if we do this properly. So just my thought. And again, I'll just say that I think we need to do it properly. It's a longer term thing, but I think we also need to address the immediate issues.
Okay, thank you. And I think I see agreement basically from council on that point. Sue.
Just wanted to add to Councillor Wilmer's point. So I just Googled what would a building condition assessment evaluate? And it basically says, and such an assessment indicates whether you need to do repairs in the short term as well as what will be required in the longer term, complete with estimated costs. It assesses site and ground, structural systems, foundations, intermediate floors and roofs. Are there cracks in the foundation, building envelope, roofing system, exterior finishes, stairs, steps, mechanical systems, electrical, heating, ventilation, air conditioning, plumbing, and conveyance systems. It will tell you which condition of each system and how much longer it will last. It also includes regulatory compliance, life safety, and fire suppression systems as an example.
Okay, so we pretty much know that is the thorough assessment that needs to happen. Andy, are you looking for council to authorize the heating assessment? Would that be a good first step while we're waiting on the building condition assessment?
Yes, chances are though, whoever does the assessment will, if
do
you
that.
hire somebody outside with the assessment program that they're talking about, they would assess the actual heating system as well. However, if that's going to be something we're going to hire someone independently of, it is a start, yes. However, it's not our main issue. Our main issue right now is the security for the building, the front entrance, and the doorways leading to the front desk. That is even more valuable in my mind, because with this COVID and everything that's going on in this world, security for the staff should be also not only the environment, but also the workspace. So that's my main concern.
Okay, so from the designs that we do have, is I know there's a doorway upstairs. Is there a doorway downstairs too? Yes.
Yes.
So is it those two doorways that you'd like to see put in? I honestly, I think that's something we could probably do, is put those two doors in
Absolutely.
to have that physical barrier that is going to ensure that members of the public coming into the building will have to be let into that part of the building. Is that something you'd like to see us do right away? Because we could do that. I don't see where at the moment the design is going to be shifting around sufficiently to make that not worthwhile. Is that your?
Yes, I agree. That would be the first thing, along with the hot water as well, because there is energy efficiency savings with it. It's something that could be utilized in a second area if we were deciding to change the building even more. It can still be used because they will size it accordingly for what we have here for washrooms and for the upstairs kitchen.
Okay, great. Councillor Bromwich.
Yeah, just a quick one through you, Chair. Can't we get things done? Like, can we do it in tandem? Can we get a fellow in to do a heating assessment at the same time, do the vestibules? There's no reason we have to wait for one to get the other. The idea of the heating situation is that's the underlying portion of the guts of the building, right? And it might affect the actual design overall eventually, because there might have to be new ductwork put in. There might have to be ductwork taken out. You really can't go ahead and put a superficial inlay in there, new rooms, new dividers, new office space without the old system being addressed first. So I think, if we follow the progression here in an orderly way, there's no reason we couldn't do a heating assessment and also carry on with doing the vestibules. Is that the case? Is there anything holding that up? We could do it in tandem together.
So is it heating that you're recommending though?
The
And
heating assessment.
water
yeah.
heating?
That, well, Andy's talking about the water heating. What about doing a complete heating assessment and water? I mean, let's find out what we need to do to improve our system. And at the same time, that shouldn't hold up any construction on the vestibule and the safety factors. should it? Maybe I'm thinking wrong, but
Okay, Counselor Wilmer.
Yeah, no, I'm going to repeat myself, but I think we need to do the things that need to be done now. The problem with doing the whole heating system is if we do a condition audit, it's going to be done anyway. You know,
Mhm.
it'll be part of the condition audit. So we don't want to pay for it twice. Yeah, it would be nice to get it done right away. I mean, perhaps we can look at the hot water situation and the vestibules and get those done immediately. But as far as the whole heating and that sort of thing, really, we should, that would all be part of the condition audit. So, you know, I would hate to see us do it twice.
Right.
I know what everyone's saying. Like, I'd love to see this thing move along very quickly. And, but I really feel it's important to do the condition audit. But at the same time, I'm saying, let's do the things that we need to do that are safety issues right now.
Okay, so the number one safety issue is the 2 doors that need to be installed to create the vestibules. So so could we get a recommendation then for council to authorize that to happen? Would that be acceptable to get that going? Councillor Bromwich? Sorry.
I would like maybe somebody could read a recommendation out to that effect and we'll have a vote on it. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, Andy, yes.
Just a quick question. Mayor, has anyone seen the actual plans with the vestibule and the roof extension at the back before you make this recommendation? Has all council members seen this?
Yes, it was previously circulated. Yes.
I just want to confirm.
Okay, so I think that would be these.
Yes.
Okay, so now when we talk vestibule, are we talking the interior doors that are creating that space? They're on the floor plans? Or are we talking including the extra construction on the outside? What are we talking about with a vestibule? Because I thought we were just talking about the doors at the moment.
When you say vestibule, that is the exterior change of the front entrance. When you're
Okay.
talking about interior doors for security, that's
Yeah.
the door upstairs by the front desk and the door downstairs by the basement entrance. So those are
So-
two different things.
Okay, so the security doors are something we could do right away because when you look at your plan, that plan doesn't have any reason why that can't happen, and it should happen.
Exactly.
Okay, so the vestibules are as it shows on these drawings, a little bit more of a significant investment because they're going to have to be constructed. So is
The
that
front vestibule, yes, Mayor. The front
Yes.
vestibule is more extensive than the rear door. The rear door is just going to be a roof overhang to allow the ice and snow not to fall right in front. That's what it's for, basically.
right? So that's a safety matter for being hit by
Yes.
these in the winter. Okay. So do we have any sense of what would be invested to do those 2 vestibule and the roof area? Do we have any sense of what that might cost? Is that something we should be tendering?
That was something we would have to tender, I do believe, because with our procurement policy, I do believe over a certain value, we're going to have to ask for 3. Again, we have not had any cost associated with this yet because we're still in the preliminary stages for design and no one wants to provide a cost quote if they haven't had a design done yet.
Okay. So I guess if we could get a recommendation to do the inside doors, because that absolutely could be done as soon as somebody can come in and do it. That's step 1. And then I'll ask about what you want to do with the vestibule and the roof construction on the exterior of the building. Sue, do you have a recommendation how do you want to do this? Do you want to do it in pieces? Or are you going to give me one recommendation?
I'm still waiting to see if council is kind of on the same page. So what I'm hearing is that council directs staff to ascertain costs and timeline to proceed with the inside doors, the front vestibule, as well as the back covered area at the back door. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, so could we separate those 2? Because the inside door,
Yeah.
no brainer. it's a quick and easy job that somebody should just be able to, you could get a couple of quotes on to get those doors in, and they should be in before we reopen the municipal office. I would think that would be an important safety thing. Councillor Wilmer.
I was just gonna say, I agree. If we could separate, get those inside doors done and then obtain quotes on the vestibules and the roof. Would that make sense, Andy?
Absolutely, Mayor, or Councillor Wilmer, yes.
Okay, so I think we want two separate recommendations because we want to approve the inside doors to get quotes and get that done. And then it will be a little bit bigger project to do the vestibule and the roof. You would have to tender that, I would assume, or it will take a little longer, but we could get those doors done ASAP. Any concerns from council? We'll have Sue write up those two recommendations. Now, Andy, is there anything else at this point other than knowing that you have council support to start to work through this process?
I think so far this is it's a good start now, so at least we can move forward. Once we do this, then you can do a second assessment if you wish to say, okay, what stage are we at in the next month? If you want to meet, or you can, I'm sure you keep in contact with all the staff, say what stage are we at, and then we'll go from there. So I'm happy with and I'm not sure I can't answer the rest of the staff, but I know it definitely is an issue with staff spacing, and you're not going to change much here by just using the space that we have. So again, this is a good start, at least for the staff.
Okay. All right. Sue, do you have a recommendation for council?
I do, to the chair, that council directs staff to proceed with the installation of the inside doors at the municipal office and further direct staff to ascertain cost and timeline to proceed with the construction of the front vestibule construction and the back covered area at the back door.
Council, did you catch that?
I did. I'm good.
Okay. Do we need that last bit reread? No, are we
Maybe
good? It was the two that we proceed with the doors and then to get the estimates for the vestibule and the rear roof. Okay. So if you've heard it, then I'll ask for a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Wilmer, seconded by Councillor Bromwich. Is there any discussion on the recommendation? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, Andy, thank you very much for working on this project for us. We really do appreciate. It's going to be a difficult one because of the challenges of our aging pig.
Buy more lipstick.
Yeah, buy more. No. First, we got to fix this pig, and then we can put some lipstick on it. Sue. Oh, I'll be quoted in the paper for that, I'm sure. I was around when it was done the first time. You want to speak to the Sue?
I don't want to speak to that, but I don't want to lose sight of it. I did get a text from Gwen, the previous report on asset management. You did not get a mover or a seconder on that.
I didn't? Okay. I apologize. Let's go back then and would someone like to move that, please? Moved by Councillor Bromwich, seconded by Councillor Wilmer. Has anything changed in our support for that? Okay, I don't see. Now, does she want me to call the vote again?
Yes, please.
Okay, all those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, sorry about that, gentlemen. It was such a long recommendation, I forgot.
I had written down that it was Carl and David, but we'll continue.
I think generally they're all voting
That's what
for.
I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought I had got one, but
Yeah.
okay, as long as we have that, we've ticked the box and
Did
we've
it
got,
twice.
that's super important.
We did it twice.
It's
We did
so
it
good to
twice.
get it twice.
Well, lots of support for that, so Gwen can pick whatever she wishes based on the first time or the second time. Okay. All right, so that completes our discussion at this point of municipal office building design. And I gather if council has any other questions about it at this stage, I would go and speak to Andy and just see where the project's at and maybe provide your input into the actual layout sketches that we got, because I know I have some and I'll go speak to him about that at some point. Amanda?
And I just want to, again, say that the funding for this redesign and construction is coming from the modernization program grant, not directly from the municipal taxpayer for this year.
Or from reserves,
Right,
as I learned. It's from deferred revenue.
yes.
Okay. All right. Our next item is the COVID update, phase 1, COVID-19 phase in access. So I'm going to turn it over to Sue, who I assume is bringing us this.
Yeah, so I tried to give you a kind of a broad look as to what we're still waiting on timelines for. And as you know, we get an announcement on a Thursday and the public thinks it's open on a Friday. So I was hoping to get more council comment to say that these are the timelines, these are the thresholds that we will follow. So that I need to know as it pertains to virtual meetings, for example. Are we going to continue with virtual meetings until they lift the provincial emergency order? At this point, all meetings that we have advertised to date, because they're mostly planning. So for the month of June, we have advertised that they will be Zoom meetings. So I put that in my report that as what I know today, and the fact that the number is still 5 doesn't mean it's not going to change to 10 tomorrow. The recommended number is still 5. We have gone ahead and had the fire chief do the new occupancy rates as it pertains to the PJY and as it pertains to the council chambers for future use once we open the doors. I did want to have council input and wanted to offer that the next steps, the council chamber is available if somebody wanted to be present here as a council member, but you still would have to Zoom in, and we still would have to adhere to having under 5 in the council chambers. The layout of it right now would mean that we would be bringing in some tables to be able to sit 5 people with the social distancing. So I just wanted to itemize to kind of put down for you what the next steps were. Beaches and playgrounds, privies, picnic tables. I want to have something so the public knows when it's coming out so that they don't assume that we're just not putting them out. Staff is waiting for direction, Roads is waiting for direction, at what stage we put things out. Initially, right now, the main concern is the beaches. Renfrew County Health is not testing the water right now. There are some municipalities up north that are going ahead and opening their beaches, but they are actually posting that the beaches and the water is not tested. We are following the recommendation right now as to what was under the Ontario Parks that we had attached to this report as it pertained to the beaches. I guess what my report is doing is saying our projection is June 1st, Lakeshore Park. We would go ahead this week after this report. So before the end of the week, we would open the washroom at Lakeshore Park. It has running water. County Health has said if it has running water, you can, by ensuring that you clean twice a day, 7 days a week, open that washroom. We are proposing that washroom as well as having the privy at Cumbermere Boat Launch be delivered and start this week as well, because the boat launch there is open. The other locations, what we're seeking direction from council is we can go ahead and put the privies at Wadsworth and the other locations, but right now, without summer students, we are looking at overtime for staff to be able to say that we can clean twice a day, 7 days a week, if we put all of the privies out. My report is giving you the option to tell us whether you want to do that, whether for this season you want to cut back and say we will not have a privy at certain locations, or whether we will have all of the privies we usually have, and then we will only open them when the beach opens. Or we will only open the privies when we have students to clean them. So I'm putting the ball in your court.
Okay. So can we start with council meetings? because that was the first thing you mentioned. Until the provincial order is lifted, I think there's certainly enough issues with our staff being in our building that to add bringing everyone in to do a council meeting, it's not reasonable. We're doing fine like this. It may not be optimum all the time, but I think, I don't know, council seems to be able to conduct business and we're doing it well. Certainly our planning meeting this morning went very well. So it would seem to me that it just is an additional stressor to the health and well-being of our staff to bring council in to do a council meeting when we can continue to do them this way until the provincial order is lifted. That's my thought. Any thoughts from council on that? Councillor Wilmer?
No, I agree with that. I think our staff safety is of utmost importance. I also think that, I think this morning showed that we can get the public involved. I mean, not to the same extent. I miss not seeing everyone live. It's funny, as it's gone on, I sort of find it harder and harder, but at the same time, it's working well. And we saw how we could incorporate the public into our meetings this morning. I think also the fact that the council chamber would really be a difficult place to hold many people anyway. It's better to keep on doing right now what we're doing. My thought.
Thank you. Councillor Bromwich.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. I know the emergency situation has now been extended June 30th, I understand. I personally feel that the reopening of a lot of these businesses and stores and is a little premature with the numbers that are coming through every day. Like, we still have 400 some odd cases a day coming at us, and we don't know if there's going to be a second wave or not. I think safety is our main purpose here, and we're doing it the right way right now. In fact, I went, and I think another councillor or two went and had their tests this past week, which is brilliant to have testing done on the fly here like this. We still have 3 days to go now for another week of testing. And I was just going to ask, is there any kind of a policy for staff to be tested? Like, these fellows are out in the street every day mixing with other people. And I'm wondering if there's possibly a chance that we could actually have mandatory testing for our staff, just to make sure that they're satisfied. Everybody should be tested. That's the word I keep getting from the paramedics, from the health officers. And until such time as there's very, very little new cases, I don't feel satisfied that to go into a room with another bunch of people. We're still quarantined at home here. We haven't seen our babies for 3.5, 4 months. We're not going to do all that work to throw it away and say, okay, let's open the doors. I would say with the beaches, they should be open, possibly, especially Wadsworth. We should have at least those toilets down there, bring them in. Even if we have to have somebody part-time, Stephanie might have access to somebody that can wash those out, I know it's going to be tough.
Everybody pees in the bush there.
Of course, everybody does go in the bush, don't they?
Okay, so
I'm just saying, like, I'm sorry. I just say the beaches should be open. I don't know about using all the picnic tables, because people do flock to them. You don't get that 5 people. You're going to have 10, 15 people surrounding a table, and that sort of attracts them. So I think we have to think about that. But at least have an area on the beach where you can put your blanket down and put your feet in the water. I think that's a start. But maybe you people, Stephanie can help here. She's more into it than I am. Okay,
so before we go on to all of the questions about privies and beaches and things like that, can we just complete the question of continuing with electronic meetings for as long as the emergency is in place?
Yeah.
Sue, did you want a resolution to that effect?
Yes, I just a resolution saying that the electronic meetings will continue for the length of the provincial emergency order.
Okay, so you basically heard the resolution. Could I get a mover to that effect? Moved by Councillor Schulis, seconded by Councillor Wilmer. Is there any discussion on that? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, now let's move on to the far more complicated questions of beaches and privies and things. So beaches are they still closed under provincial order? Are beaches still closed? Can
I
some-
do believe under provincial order, they did not close the beaches. They left
Right.
it to the municipalities
Open.
regionally to decide. We called the health unit to see what other people were doing in our area. And most of them at my last meeting last Wednesday were still closing their beaches.
Okay,
And no one was putting out their picnic tables until their beach, no one was putting out the picnic tables until their beaches was open, which is why I was questioning the rented privies.
okay. So there's not an order closing the beaches. This is going to be our decision. Okay, because I was under the understanding they were closed by provincial order, so my mistake. All right, so to take this in little bites, you talked about Lakeshore Park washroom and having it open June 1st and putting a privy at the Cumbermere boat launch. Is there a privy at the Barry's Bay boat launch as well?
No, there is no privy at the Barry's Bay Wharf because of the proximity to Lakeshore Park.
Okay, so at the very least, you're suggesting that those two things happen, that we open the Lakeshore Park washroom and we put the privy at the Cumbermere boat launch, and they would have to be cleaned twice a day, every day, 7 days a week.
Yeah.
Does council have any concerns with that? Councillor Wilmer.
I agree with that. I just question on the cleaning and how are we going to deal with that?
Okay, so I'll maybe ask staff to address that. How would you do that if that's what you were doing?
So we've spoken to Public Works, and I believe we're in the process of putting a water tank on the back of a half-ton truck that will probably be used this year to clean the washrooms. That being said, there is water at the Lakeshore Beach, so that can be cleaned regularly. The only thing I'm under right now is staff. So I don't have staff working weekends, but by all means, I'll have to find staff.
Okay, that is my only concern, but I think, the basic having those two washrooms open is necessary, yes.
Mhm. We should note that there's very few washrooms open and available to the public at this point in time. So I'm honestly not sure if there's any businesses that have a washroom that the public can use. Our railway station is closed. Our municipal office is closed to walk in, I guess I'll call it walk-in traffic. The stores and restaurants in Cumbermere are also following the rules of COVID, doing delivery from the door, not open and accessible for washroom use. So there's a dearth of washrooms in our community, and we are entering our summer period. Sue, can you speak to how we could, is there any staff advice on how staff use washrooms?
Well, yesterday I worked on some SOPs as it pertains to health and safety, wearing a mask, so distancing, dealing with direct and indirect contact with individuals. So I would have to develop and involve Stephanie in some kind of protocol for the cleaning, having a log sheet or a log book so that we can identify when it's cleaned, and having some notices on the doors that it is only cleaned twice a day, asking people to, be vigilant.
Right. Is it a use at own risk sort of situation?
I believe it to be, because there wouldn't be anyone there, wiping down the handle when you leave and the taps. Yeah.
Okay. So if we're going to post signage that's going to let the public know that, would council be then in agreement to, I guess, can you give me a recommendation to open the Lakeshore washroom and to place a privy at the Cumbermere boat launch? We'll see if council supports that. Oh, Stephanie, you wanted to speak to that first?
Sorry, I just got one more thing. I just want council to be aware this summer, moving forward, this will be a full-time job. If all of these washrooms are open, there will be significant budget impacts relating to cleaning of washrooms.
Okay.
Because once you go around one time to all the washrooms and clean them, you're gonna have to make a second loop. So it will be an everyday, all day job.
Probably for more than one person though, because nobody works 7 days a week.
Yeah.
Okay, Counselor Wilmer?
I was just gonna say that that really is the, you know, the sort of crux of this, that I think we need to do it because of the lack of washrooms and showing that we're open, but at the same time, if we're doing it, we have to do it, ensure that we're doing everything right. We have to make sure that we keep it clean, and it is a lot of work, and it's going to take extra staffing, and as you say, it can't be one person, it's going to be a couple of people. So we're looking at, you know, a staff person. Hopefully we're not making this overtime for somebody, but employing somebody new or whatever to do it.
Yes, so if staff could work on the most efficient and effective, cost-effective way of ensuring that these washrooms are cleaned, I guess what we'll do is we'll give you a recommendation to open. So let's start with Lakeshore Park, which has running water, and the Privy at Combermere. Did you want to do that recommendation first, Sue?
Yes, Mr. Chair, that council approves the Lakeshore Park washroom and the Privy at the Combermere Boat Launch be open the week of June 1, 2020. And that cleaning protocols, standard operating procedures, and training be provided prior to the opening of the washrooms.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation. Can I get a mover? Moved by Councillor Bromwich, seconded by Councillor Wilmer. Is there any discussion on that piece? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, that gets us one more step down this road. Now, what do the next steps look like? We'll take it in little pieces.
I think the picnic tables, we are hesitating to put them out too soon. So we're asking for direction on that.
Okay, council, any thoughts on picnic tables? Councillor Wilmer.
Again, I think we don't need to rush this. I would love to see everything opened up, and I really feel that you know, it would be nice. And as we head into the summer weather, we're already seeing the number of people I see along Lakeshore Drive who are gathering. There were 20, 30 people in one group there, not the last weekend, but the weekend before. I think we're sending the wrong message by putting out the picnic tables at this point. I think we want people to visit, travel through, come enjoy our community, but not congregate with 6 people sitting at a picnic table. So I'd say no, let's wait.
Okay, so would council concur that we would hold off on putting out picnic tables for now? Certainly we have more meetings coming up. If there suddenly comes a change in the situation, we could then have a resolution to put them out. But why, as Councillor Wilmer suggests, why would we rush it?
Yeah.
And then we would also be responsible for ensuring that they were safe, I would think, if we put them out. Councillor Wilmer?
And I'm saying don't put any time frames. I agree on you, because this seems to change. I mean, it could change. We don't know where we're headed with this. And I just am saying, as of today, I feel it's too early.
Okay, so do you want a resolution to hold off on the picnic tables? And I assume any benches? Picnic tables?
What I put down was the picnic tables, docks, and rafts not be put out at this time until more amenities are opened.
Okay.
Benches, I do think that strategically through town, we should be putting out some benches. We do have some walkers that, you know, I did notice we're probably looking for a place to sit. I think maybe not putting them all out, but maybe we could try a couple, but that's council's decision as well.
Okay, would council have any concerns with putting out a few benches?
No.
Stephanie, did you want to speak to that?
I just wanted to let council know that between the public works and the recreation staff, we have collected and restained a lot of the benches this year. So they are actually being put out, just freshly painted. So just so you know that.
Okay. I don't think we have any concerns with the benches going out there because people even passing through our parks may want to sit for a minute. Again, I think the concept of a picnic table does cause people to gather around a table rather than a bench that they may just sit down on. Councillor Wilmer?
And we already have permanent benches that are out there, and generally they're fairly well used right now, and people are staying distant. But no, I think benches for people who are walking around town is a good idea. It's a different sort of feeling than putting a picnic table. A picnic table, you're gathering and you could have 10, 12 people around it, but benches are more to a rest stop type of thing. So I think it's great to put them out.
Okay, so benches, yes, picnic tables, not yet.
Not yet.
So Sue, do you want a resolution, Sue?
Yeah, propose that council approves that some of the benches throughout the municipality and the bench chairs with social distancing in mind be put out the week of June 1, 2020.
Okay, could I get a mover for that? Moved by Councillor Bromwich, seconded by Councillor Wilmer. Any discussion on the benches? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, what's our next little piece of this that you'd like us to address?
We just wanted to advise where we were at with the flowers and the posting of the summer students.
Okay.
Have any questions for us? The municipal office, we did get the plexiglass installed at the first wicket. The second wicket, when we open, will remain closed. We do have a location with a signing table. We have not received yet the portable plexiglass. That will be a barrier between someone coming to sign and a department head receiving the information. I did last night work on some SOPs as well as some policies. The deputy clerk is looking at some training that we can do with some of our staff prior to opening. So I probably will be emailing you those drafts and bringing it back to the June 9th meeting so that when you do decide we're opening the door, we're ready.
Okay.
I did mention previously in my other report the last time, and in case you missed it, we did get a buzzer installed at the front door as well. So once we do open, staff is recommending that way would be what we deem to be a soft open, which means you still would have to buzz and one person would be let in at a time. We would be asking vendors, advising vendors or contractors coming in that they must wear a mask. All patrons would wear a mask. There would be a login sheet as well as a self-declaration sheet that they would have to fill out.
Okay.
So that's what we propose.
Okay, does council have any concerns with that?
No.
Any concerns with a soft opening where it would still be not just freely open to walk in? And that would be, and are you talking about any specific date for that soft opening, Sue, or are you holding off until the next council meeting to give us a date?
I think the next council meeting, because it's scheduled for June 9th, by then we would know if we have everything in place. We've ordered a plexiglass for the railway station just in case as well. Because we still are not sure on the status of that either. I think we would be in a better position to say we're ready to go or what that looks like. And by then we should have an indication if there's going to be a second wave or a big impact from the Mother's Day weekend or riots. So we should have a better idea.
Okay. Okay. I'm just trying to think. The only thing we didn't talk about then, we didn't make a decision on beaches. So it's a municipal responsibility to decide whether or not they're open.
I think at this point, what we're saying is we deem the beaches to be closed. We understand people will be using it. Hopefully they social distance. I don't think my bylaw enforcement officer will stop a mom from having her child in the beach. I just think that if we say they're closed and if we say see a group, as Councillor Wilmer just referenced, of 20 people, then bylaw would go in and advise them that under the provincial order, not that they're not supposed to be on the beach, but they're not social distancing.
Okay. So is there signage that says the beaches are closed?
I'm expecting signage today or tomorrow.
By the time we get it, we might have had the beaches opened.
Yes.
Okay, so if you receive that signage, Stephanie, is it going to be on the beaches? I'm just trying to get a clear understanding so that if council is receiving phone calls or fielding phone calls from the public, we know what they're talking about. Is the signage going to be put out on the beaches?
I had plans on putting them out, yes, unless council tells me no.
Okay, Councillor Bromwich?
So through you, Chair, let me understand this. You're gonna put closed beaches, and if somebody's on the beach, then we can find them?
No, I think what they're saying is if somebody's not adhering to social distancing. So if there's a group of 12 people there.
If they're having a party and they're all together.
Do you have to close the beach in order to make that statement? I
No.
mean, your social distancing anywhere in town has to be respected. Doesn't matter if it's a beach or on the street. If there's more than 5 people in a group, they're against, this is a breaking of the law. I'm just wondering, you're putting a sign up saying beaches are closed, and you're gonna get people on the beach, but everybody's gonna feel like a criminal. I'm just saying it's a very negative thing to be doing at this point in time, when you've got all the kids coming up here for the summer holidays with their parents and they can't go to a beach. I just don't, it's a really negative thing. That's all I can say. Thank you.
Okay,
If I may, if I may through the chair, I think tomorrow there's yet another clerk meeting, and we've been trying to ensure that all the adjacent municipalities, if their beaches are closed, our beach was closed. Because if I open and BLR and KHR remain closed, everyone from there is going to come here. So if we can proceed with the understanding that we're getting signage, and I can communicate with council and with the bylaw enforcement officer tomorrow that if every other beach is closed, then maybe you need to make a different decision.
okay. So Councillor Wilmer.
Yeah, I understand that concern, but I also do agree with what Councillor Bromwich is saying. I mean, my philosophy throughout this has been to use common sense. And I think if every social distance, whether it's on the beach, in a store, whatever, we wouldn't have the problems we have. My concern is that people will congregate together on the beach, but it's no different than anywhere else. So, you know, it's a difficult thing because I think we should do it in coordination with the other communities around us, or else we could run into problems. But I would like to see the beaches opened, provided people follow social distancing. And I think it's as simple as that. Like, let's follow the rules and we'll get things open again. But it is an important point to, as you say, that we sort of stay in line with the other municipalities around us, because particularly if, you know, the cities or whatever have things closed and they learn that, well, you know, Madawaska Valley has their beaches open. We don't need everyone flocking here just to congregate on our beach. It would be nice to have people coming here, but at the same time, I think it's very important that the social distancing is followed.
Okay, and also council, do that if the beaches are open, then we do have to address the question of whether or not we're going to provide privies at those beaches. And that is going to be then a factor. If you open Wadsworth Beach, then we have always had a privy there, or an outhouse or a privy at Wadsworth Beach. So we open the beach and not have a privy.
Good Lord.
It becomes, this is why beaches are sort of an issue. And as well, now, is it the advice of Renfrew County Public Health that our beaches remain closed, or what are they saying on this at this point in time today? Do we know?
Did talk to them today, but they had referred me to what other municipalities were doing, which is at this time they were closed.
Okay, so we have another meeting on the 9th. I think could staff be up to date for that meeting on what Renfrew County District Health is recommending, what the other municipalities are doing, and then we could make a decision at that point. I'd like to know what's going on around us. Sue.
I propose I wouldn't wait till the 9th. They could tomorrow decide to open. I think that's the purpose of my report. So
Okay.
if council says, once you open the beaches, we want you to put out the privy, then that's what we will do. We'll have deem this to be direction. It changes from morning to afternoon. So I would hesitate to say that if the majority of them are opening tomorrow, I would send an email to council and just say, they're opening their beaches, therefore we'll be putting out our washrooms by the end of the week. So if council is okay with that, then staff would feel we have some kind of direction without having to wait till June 9th
Okay.
before we could open the beach.
Okay, Councillor Bromwich.
Yeah, just a side note here through you, Chair. We haven't got much to offer up here this summer, okay? We don't have summer camps. People are coming up here to get away from the chaos of the so-called cities.
Yeah.
Beaches are the only thing that we've got to offer, and to allow other municipalities to set the tone for us here in Madawaska Valley. We're a very unique area in Renfrew County. I think we probably have more water, more beaches, more outdoorsy attractions than any other municipality in Renfrew County. And I think we should be setting the tone for this and carrying the message. A positive thing, open the beaches, allow people to at least get out of their home, soak their feet in water. Social distancing has to be followed because it's against the law not to. And don't take that one little jewel away from us and have everybody locked in their house, walking up and down their driveways. I mean, my goodness gracious. This is a really bad idea if we don't open the beaches. The bottom line.
Councillor Wilmer.
I agree fully with that. I think that's one thing we can offer. I would suggest we open our beaches. My only concern is that we make sure social distancing is followed. And I guess that's going to put a lot of stress on our bylaw or whatever. But I just hope people follow it. We should, I think our beaches should be open.
Okay, so if council is believing the beaches should be open, then I think it's incumbent upon council to also put the privies out. Because you can't have people, even though there's social distancing, congregating on a beach for the afternoon and have nowhere for them to go to the bathroom. So honestly, we have to accept that there's going to be significant cost. And if we're going to do this now, then at least staff is given the direction to find the individuals to ensure that all the privies can be cleaned. So Sue, is that sort of what you're hearing, that the beaches are open and we will put the privies out? Is that the kind of recommendation council wants to vote on? I'm trying to get a sense here, boys. Sue.
Sorry, I did notice that the fire chief is on the call, so I'm not sure if, as by law enforcement, if he wanted to comment prior to that.
All I'd say is that most people so far during this pandemic have been pretty decent. I actually probably spoke to 2 or 3 people through the past few months that have gathered large gatherings. OPP have only had 2 incidents where they had to step in due to noise complaints they come across in the bush. Other than that, most people that have showed up in the township have been decent right across the board. So I think we're pretty good that way. Most people I do speak to or have spoke to and said, yeah, sorry, and they moved along quite nicely, spread apart and never gave me a hard time. So I think it's all right.
Okay, just Stephanie, on the signage you just got, it says the beaches are closed.
So the signage that I've ordered 3 different signs. One that says beaches closed, one that says social distancing, and the other one that says play structures are closed. So they're more permanent signage and we could change the signs.
Okay, so can we put out
thinking
the
ahead.
signage? Can we put out the signage for social distancing? It makes sense. If we're going to have the beaches open, those signs go out. Play structures are closed by provincial order, I believe. So that signage can go on play structures.
Yep.
And hold off on the closed beaches sign. So can we get a resolution to the effect? And council, correct me if I'm not capturing what your feelings are. That the beaches are open, that the privies will be placed and maintained at the beaches, that the signage for social distancing will go up and the signage for play structures being closed will be up.
Sounds good.
Not getting any concerns? Sue,
good.
those, and that should give direction.
Yep.
Sue.
I would be calling the health unit to see if I have to post that they are not testing the water. I do have, because if our beaches are not being tested because they do not have staffing, that brings That was one of the main reasons why we were leaving the beach. We were not advertising them as open.
Okay. Council, concerns about that, or how do we deal with that? We couldn't get
Sign it.
time.
I've
So,
been in restaurants where those signs are up.
Signage should be on the beach telling people this so that they're aware that they are under their own, they're
Yes,
using it at their own risk.
Swim at your
Okay.
own risk. Yeah.
so do we have signage that says use at your own risk, or that the beaches are not being tested? Do we have any signage like that?
I think there is a swim at your own risk sign, but I'll double check.
Okay. If not, it sounds like another sign we need. Sue.
Here, I thought I was being good ordering 3.
And again, to that point, I think if the county, if it gets really warm and the public health fears that there is because that the beaches need to be tested, they might order that they be closed as well. So just so that
Okay.
we're aware of that. So the resolution that I would have is that council approve that staff erect social distancing signage at all public beaches and privies be installed by the end of the week of June 1, 2020 at the respective beaches.
Okay, so you're talking the end of this coming
By
week.
the end of this week, we have to train staff, we have to find staff, we have to arrange for the privies to be erected. We will not be putting out picnic tables based on the previous recommendation. And then we do not have a closed beach sign right now, so it's not signed that it is closed. So does that, am I addressing council's wish?
I think so. We're not going to put signage out because we're opening the beaches. We're not having them closed, but we will have the social distancing signage. And we will have, if we have some swim at own risk signage, it would be helpful to put that out as well because the beaches aren't being tested. And perhaps that component could form part of our advertising for our community corner in the newspaper.
Is that a message you want out? Like a big beaches are open?
I don't know. I think we want the public to be aware of it, but it's more the question that they're not being tested. How do we deal with that?
I will be talking tomorrow on our call to the health unit. They may have a strategy in place. I don't think they were, I think right now they were under the assumption most of the beaches are closed, so they might have a different strategy now.
Okay, so maybe bring us further information then from the health unit. Councillor Wilmer?
Yeah, I was just I'd love to see people out at the beaches and be aware of it, but I think like the township hall, I think we almost need to do it as a soft opening. Let's open them and people will find out that they're open. And I wouldn't be putting an announcement out at this point. I would just say, hey, if people ask, they're open, yes. But we don't need to make anything special about it. We don't during regular years either.
Okay, it's more that they're not being tested. That's the concern. In regular years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So nothing on that then? I'm fine with that. Whatever, just looking for some input here, folks. Councillor Bromwich?
Thank you. I agree with Councillor Wilmer. The less said, the better at this point in time. Let's just keep on going down the road that we're on. Every week, we're getting different stories on what's going on. And it's pretty hard to keep up to this, okay? It's like poor Corey over here is trying to put a fire ban on one day, takes it off the next day. We're gonna have to hire somebody just to go around and put signs up and down on the road for the next week. So let's just slow down a bit and we don't say anything right now and just let things go, because people will be coming up here this month, but I don't think much before the middle or end of the month. So we've got a few weeks yet to go. So, and they'll find their way to the beach if they want to. And if there's 20 people in a group and a police officer's going by, he's going to stop and nail them, or at least warn them. So we'll leave it up to the OPP to govern that end of it.
Okay, so Sue, then okay, I've forgotten. Do we have a resolution?
That council approved that staff erect social distancing signage at all public beaches and privies be installed at respective beaches by the end of the week, June 1, 2020.
Okay, could I get a mover, please? Moved by Counselor Wilmer, seconded by Counselor Schulist. Any discussion on the resolution? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, so did we answer all your COVID questions at this point?
Yep.
Okay, we beat that one to death. All right, is there anything further than on the COVID report, Sue?
Nope.
Okay.
I did want to bring you a just a quick number that the deputy treasurer gave me. So they did do the interim tax billing summary. I believe it was asked last week if we knew what the impact had been. And actually in 2019, at the April 30th, after the billing, there was 17.78% that was not collected. And in 2020, after April, there was 16.56% not collected. So we actually collected 1% more, 1.2% more in 2020 during COVID than we did in 2019. The impact of the total that was waived in interest was $12,987, which I believe is pretty close to her estimated numbers.
Okay, thank you. Any questions on that from council? Not seeing any. All right, let's move on then to severance application B99/19. Owner Valley Manor Incorporated, applicant agent Courtney A. Burnett. Okay, Silas, you're here. How much of this do you want me to read?
You can read the first part of it, and then I'll go into the recommendation, if you don't mind, Mayor Love.
Okay, I wasn't certain how we were addressing this one. Okay, so owner Valley Manor Incorporated, applicant agent Courtney A. Burnett, Howe and Bradley Professional Corporation. Part of lots 177 to 178, Range B South in the geographic township of Sherwood, now in the township of Madawaska Valley in the county of Renfrew. 2.8 meters by 39.7 meters, which is 0.0111 hectares or 0.027 CAs, whatever they are. Lot addition location, 88 Mintha Street, 69 Casey Street, Barry's Bay, Ontario. So Silas, I'm going to turn it over to you to speak to this.
Thank you very much, Mayor Love. This is a correction of title, basically. I think it's the air conditioning unit or something thereabouts encroaches onto the Valley Manor property that has been recently discovered. And in light of everything that is surrounding Valley Manor, it was the time now to try to remedy a wrong. So this is a lot addition to a residential unit from the Valley Manor, which is own community facility. So if just going through my memo to Committee of Council, the County of Renfrew just stated that the proposal would be acceptable, providing favorable comments from the Township of Madawaska Valley Public Works Department and a zoning bylaw amendment of the land to be severed from community facility CF to residential 1 R1. The operations manager has conducted his investigation and report, and there are no issues with public works. And with respect to the zoning, what happens is to keep the zoning consistent. We don't want a two-zone approach for a property, so that is the other requirement. So therefore, the recommendation is that council and committee recommend to council to approve severance application B99/19 as a lot addition, subject to a zoning bylaw amendment of the lands to be severed from community facility CF to residential 1 R1. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Sue, could we just alter that recommendation a little and just say that council approve? Because we are currently in a special council meeting as council, not as council and committee. So just to say that council approved the severance application. Is that okay, Silas?
Yes, absolutely. Just in my old time frame of taking things to Committee of Council.
Exactly. So we are council today.
Thank you.
Okay, so you've heard the recommendation, council. Could I get a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Wilmer, seconded by Councillor Bromwich. Is there any discussion on the recommendation? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. All right, thank you. All right, now next we have bylaws, and we're going to be going through the bylaws for a number of the items that were in the planning meeting this morning. We have bylaw 2020-49 regarding the site-specific zoning bylaw amendment being part of Lot 5, Concession 5, Geographic Township of Radcliffe from Highway Commercial HC to Residential 1 Exception 67, R1-E67, Pastway PAS-2019-04. The recommendation is that bylaw 2020-49, being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 2006-26 of the Township of Madawaska Valley as amended, be given first and second reading the second day of June 2020. Could I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Wilmer, seconded by Councillor Schulist. Is there any discussion on the bylaw? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. The recommendation is that bylaw 2020-49 be given third and final reading this second day of June 2020. Could I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Bromwich, seconded by Councillor Wilmer. Any final discussion on the bylaw? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. Next is bylaw 2020-50 regarding the site-specific zoning bylaw amendment being part of Welchman's Mask Island, Geographic Township of Sherwood from Limited Service Residential, LSR, to Limited Service Residential Exception 58, LSR-E58, and to Limited Service Residential Exception 59, LSR-E59, Hope, Derbyshire, HOP-2020-04. The recommendation is that bylaw 2020-50, being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 2006-26 of the Township of Madawaska Valley as amended, be given first and second reading the second day of June 2020. Could I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Wilmer, seconded by Councillor Bromwich. Any discussion on the bylaw? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. The recommendation is that bylaw 2020-50 be given third and final reading the second day of June 2020. Moved by Councillor Schulist, seconded by Councillor Wilmer. Any final discussion on this bylaw? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. Bylaw 2020-51 regarding the site-specific zoning bylaw amendment being part of Lot 2, Plan 236, and part of the shoreline road allowance along Blackfish Bay, Geographic Township of Radcliffe from Limited Service Residential, LSR, to Limited Service Residential Exception 60, LSR-E60, and to Limited Service Residential Exception 61, LSR-E61, Coghlan, COG-2020-05. The recommendation is that bylaw 2020-51, being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 2006-26 of the Township of Madawaska Valley as amended, be given first and second reading the second day of June 2020. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Schulist, seconded by Councillor Bromwich. Is there any discussion on the bylaw? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. The recommendation is that bylaw 2020-51 be given third and final reading the second day of June 2020. Moved by Councillor Bromwich, seconded by Councillor Wilmer. Any final discussion on this bylaw? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. Final bylaw is, I think you actually received this by email, the update.
Yeah.
Silas, you sent that out to them, yes.
That's correct.
2020-52 regarding the site-specific zoning bylaw amendment being Lot 38, Plan 361, and part of the shoreline road allowance along Paw Lake, Geographic Township of Burns, from Limited Service Residential, LSR, to Limited Service Residential Exception 62, LSR-E62, Dunlop, DUN-2020-05. The recommendation is that bylaw 2020-52, being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 2006-26 of the Township of Madawaska Valley as amended, be given first and second reading this second day of June 2020. Could I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Wilmer, seconded by Councillor Schulist. Any discussion on the bylaw? Silas.
I just want to point out for the benefit of the public that the bylaw has been amended from what was in the agenda based on the information that was provided at the public meeting, that the setback will be changed from 17 meters to 15.5 meters as a water setback. Thank you.
And that was to conform to the location of the existing cottage.
That's correct, based on the Ontario Land Surveyor's evidence.
Yes. Okay. Any further discussion on the bylaw? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. The recommendation is that bylaw 2020-52 be given third and final reading this second day of June 2020. Could I get a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Bromwich, seconded by Councillor Wilmer. Final discussion on this bylaw, anyone? Seeing nothing, all those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, that's our bylaw section. Good job. That completes this morning's work. All right, I'm going to find the next thing. Okay, there we go. All right, we have some correspondence. Under correspondence information, we have a letter from the Oakville Economic Task Force dated May 8th, 2020 regarding the Ontario Canada Emergency Commercial Rent Assistance Program. So the Oakville Economic Task Force has offered suggestions to the federal government on how to improve the Ontario Canada Emergency Commercial Rent Assistance Program. Any comments from council or discussion on this?
No.
Shall we accept it as information?
Yeah.
That's accepted as information. Next is MPAC offers one-time deferred payment option April 23rd, 2020. So MPAC is offering a one-time deferred payment option without penalties or interest that municipalities can use in the second quarter or the third quarter. The County of Renfrew pays for MPAC, and the bill is over $1.5 million in 2020 for council's information. Any comments on the MPAC offer? Again, I guess we will accept that as information.
Yep.
Okay, FCM seeks emergency funding for municipalities dated April 27th, 2020. FCM is the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, and they are calling on the federal government to provide emergency operating funding to municipalities during the COVID-19 pandemic. Significant attention has been drawn to lost revenues for transit systems. The Roma Board supports FCM's request for financial assistance for municipalities, but Roma will be drawing specific attention to the operating funding shortfalls being experienced by small, rural, and northern municipalities that don't have transit systems, but do have limited resources to cover additional COVID-19 expenses and the related revenue losses. And I think in the course of this meeting, we've identified we will have additional expenses. There's no doubt about it. And there are revenue losses. So that's just for council's information. I think the focus in the press has largely been on transit losses, but other losses that are going to be more hard to recoup for small municipalities. Any discussion from council on this? Okay. So this is again is for information. The next one is the 2020 OSAM conference and trade show registration, and OSAM has, I believe, been canceled. So this is one of those things that slipped through the cracks. It was canceled due to COVID.
Apologies, it was sitting in the correspondence wait for the next meeting and I missed it.
Okay, no problem. Makes it easy. We don't have much discussion. Okay, again, it's information. We'll move on to our action items. First, we have a letter from the Corporation of the Township of Bonnechere Valley dated May 6, 2020 regarding the official plan amendment. The Township of Bonnechere Valley is asking the province of Ontario to amend the effective date of their decision on the Renfrew County official plan amendment, number 25, from March 26, 2020 to September 28, 2020, to assist in the post-COVID-19 economic recovery of Renfrew County. Any discussion from council? Are they asking, they're basically asking for support, I assume?
Yeah,
Or is this something we're willing to support?
I'd support it. Yeah,
Get a mover to support this recommendation?
I'll support it.
Moved by Councillor Wilmer, seconded by Councillor Schulist. Any discussion, any further discussion on the recommendation to support? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. If it seems there's a bit of a delay, gentlemen, it's because Councillor Schulist's internet is just a little bit slower. And so I slowly see this start to happen.
Yeah.
He votes, so I'm just waiting to
I
make
live in the
sure.
wilderness. I live in the wilderness.
Yes, yes, I want to make sure that you have an opportunity to on things, Councillor Schulist. So that's what the
I
delay
say it-
is.
Yeah, I say it best when I say nothing at all.
But I want you to have a chance to vote. Anyways, it is interesting to watch the different internet speeds on the screen.
Mhm.
All right, our next letter is a letter from Laurentian Valley dated March 30th, 2020, and it's regarding the official plan. The Township of Laurentian Valley is asking the province of Ontario to defer its final decision to include Laurentian Valley under OPA number 25 due to this provincial modification not being part of the original submission from the County of Renfrew, and therefore not being part of the public consultation that occurred through the process of updating the county's official plan. If you can imagine, they have their own official plan, and the province modified the county's plan to basically impose it on Laurentian Valley. So they are asking, I believe, for our support in their ask that there be some public consultation for their public, which did not occur because it didn't cover them. Is this something that council would support? Okay, could I have a mover for to provide a letter of support? Moved by Councillor Bromwich, seconded by Councillor Schulist. Is there any discussion on this? I'm certain that if this had happened to us, we would not be very happy. Okay, no discussion. All those in favor? And that's carried. If staff could please provide Laurentian Valley with a letter of support for their request. Okay, next we have a letter from the City of Pembroke dated May 6, 2020 regarding local flexibility to provincial orders under COVID-19. So the City of Pembroke is asking the province of Ontario to grant local flexibility to provincial orders related to reopening activities and businesses during COVID-19. And I think the province is in the throes of looking at regional differences, the ability to open certain regions that are less hard hit than others. Is this something that council wants to support? Okay. Do I have a mover to provide a letter of support? Moved by Councillor Bromwich. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Schulist. Any discussion on this? Okay, all those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay. Let's see. Next is the Office of the Mayor for the City of Hamilton, dated April 23rd, 2020, regarding a request to regulate and enforce odor and lighting nuisances related to the cultivation of cannabis plants. Okay. Let's see. So the City of Hamilton is requesting that the province extend authority to municipalities to enforce odor and lighting nuisance complaints stemming from licensed and unlicensed cannabis cultivations. Is this a resolution that council would like to support? Is this something that we would like to file? I think one of the things about extending authority means it also extends responsibility. Be the thing that I would be wary of us having our bylaw enforcing this sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I guess, Sue, I'm seeing that we'll just file this one. Yeah.
Let's file it, yes, please.
Sue?
Yes, I agree, but I do think on staff side, we need to look into this because we do have some licensed cannabis operations that will be in the area. So we should be briefing ourselves as to what potentially they are looking at. And if there are any issues, we should be aware of them.
Okay.
Just proactively, maybe get some research. I can talk to bylaw.
That sounds good. Council have any concerns with that?
Mhm.
See any? Okay, so if staff could look into that further. All right, next we have a letter from the Corporation of the Township of Bonnechere Valley dated May 21st, 2020 regarding regulating prescribing certain firearms. So the Township of Bonnechere Valley is asking the federal government to revoke their recent ban on assault style firearms and has offered alternative suggestions. Is this something we want to support or do we wish to just file this? This is a big issue.
File.
I think, okay. Not seeing,
File.
okay, we will file this then, gentlemen, if no one wants to kind of go there.
Nope.
Okay. And we will move on to the letter from Barbara and Catherine Switzer dated May 14th, 2020 regarding closure of road allowance between lots 10 and 11, concession 10, geographic township of Radcliffe, which passes between lots 30 and 31A, registered plan number 348, which are both owned by Barbara and Catherine Switzer, municipal address 57 Seagull Lane. And am I ever glad to see Silas? I'm assuming you're here to enlighten us.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I will try to share some light on this situation. There are a group of 4 cottage owners that are proposing to submit applications to acquire their shoreline road allowance. And as at one of our public meetings, all 4 cottages sit on the shoreline road allowance. So it's prudent for them to acquire their shoreline because they want building permits and they can't get them or alteration until they own the land. And during this process, the Switzer people, or Barbara and Catherine, have the dilemma of their property bisected by municipal road allowance. So and they wanted to incorporate this closure possibly with the shoreline road allowance closure. And they had submitted some inquiries earlier, and I had the operations manager investigate whether it was feasible or in the best interests of the municipality to close this road allowance and to convey it to the abutting owners. Mr. Kuchkowski, who unfortunately I don't see on the screen, isn't here to answer to that question, but he did say that that is a swampy area and could not see any issue with council entertaining an application in conjunction with the shoreline road allowance application from the Switzers. So that is what I'm offering. Thank you.
Okay, could you just answer for me, and I didn't get a chance to ask you earlier, does this unopened road allowance lead to water?
Actually, it doesn't. It bypasses, so it doesn't touch the road or the Long Lake shore.
Okay, so then it isn't under our bylaw that says we don't sell unopened road allowances that lead to water.
That is correct.
Okay, so then it is a road allowance that has the potential to be conveyed to the adjacent property owners. Councillor Wilmer.
Just was wondering, do we know the purpose of the original road allowance, why it was there?
If I may, that was the original when the township of Madawaska Valley, or sorry, geographic township of Radcliffe was laid out. That is an original road allowance that was created there right from the get-go.
So it's there and it goes through a swamp.
But there's no specific purpose. Okay, all right.
Okay, So do you want a motion for council that council will entertain this? What would you like from us?
Yes, please, Madam Mayor, if we could have a resolution saying that the Switzers can make an application to acquire that road allowance that abuts their properties in conjunction with the shoreline road allowance application that they're submitting. So that'd be great.
Okay, so that basically is the resolution. Could I have someone move this, please? Moved by Councillor Bromwich, seconded by Councillor Wilmer. Any discussion on this? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, if you could impart that to them, you can see that's going to certainly make their property a lot more developable or workable.
Thank you very much. They have indicated that they wish to leave it in its natural state. They just want it to be all together as one unit.
Okay, fantastic. So I'm assuming that will come back to council at some point.
That is correct.
Okay. Thank you, Silas.
Thank you very much.
Goodness, okay. Next we have new business, and I'm actually going to turn it over to Sue because we have a request to apply for funding on behalf of the fire chief, I believe.
Yes, Madam Chair. I'm not sure if the fire chief is still on. I do believe
It turns out he is. I did
Okay,
see him.
so he may want to speak to that. I did forward you the fund under Jenny's Hero, and I'll let the fire chief speak.
But this is maybe once or twice a year. Jenny Jones will offer up to $25,000 for a single grant for municipal fire departments or volunteer. So what we're hoping for, we applied for back in 2019 to put in 2 repeater towers to increase our range for portable radios. We weren't successful in that, but now again this year she has once again opened up the grant process as of June 1st. It closed on June 26th, or June 26th for a grant. So I just wonder if we get council's permission to apply for this grant. If we're successful, we'll be able to put up 2 towers with repeaters to enhance the portable radio system for ourselves and the truck radio system. It would not increase any cost to the taxpayers. This is completely 100% funded if we get it.
I don't know why we'd say no. Do we? Sue, do we have a resolution for this?
I can type one up. Sure. That council directs staff to proceed with the grant funding application for the fire department for the purpose of applying for a repeater under Jenny's, what's it called? Sorry, Corwin? Jenny's
Heroes.
Jenny's Heroes.
Okay. Could I get a mover for that? Moved by Councillor Bromwich, seconded by Councillor Schulist. Any discussion from council or any questions? Okay, seeing none, I think we all recall this discussion from the previous application. So seeing nothing, all those in favor? And that's carried. Excellent. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, council.
Yeah, thank you.
Let's hope we get it this year. Sue, is there any new business?
Nope, I'm fine, thank you.
Okay, and there's no unfinished business. So at this point, I guess we have an in-camera session. The recommendation is that the meeting enter in-camera session to discuss matters pertaining to the security of the property of municipality or local board, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, labor relations or employee negotiations, advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose, a trade secret or scientific, technical, commercial, financial, or labor relations information supplied in confidence to the municipality or local board, which if disclosed could reasonably be expected to prejudice significantly the competitive position or interfere significantly with the contractual or other negotiations of a person, group of persons, or organizations. The meeting is held for the purposes of educating and training the members. Ontario Municipal Act 2001, Chapter 25, Section 239, 2A, B, D, F, and I, and Chapter 25, Section 239, 3.11. Number 1 will be the special council meeting minutes in camera of May 19th, 2020. And number 2 will be a letter from Roger Paul to Mayor Love regarding an INFIPA complaint. Could I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Wilmer, seconded by Councillor Schulist. All those in favor? And that's carried. We are in camera.